Hi everybody, this is Dino Chris from Prehistoric Facts. This is an answering questions episode, and luckily I got 4 questions to answer, so that is cool. And thanks to all of you to actually supporting the show and also supporting what I do and all that sorts of stuff. And then you know what? And I actually support all of you guys for actually keep on doing this and following the show, and also subscribing to my channel on YouTube, and also liking my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. And I'm gonna keep doing episodes as long as I can, and also maybe I might actually reboot some of those special episodes later on in the future if I could, but that'll be later on in the future when there's more information about certain dinosaurs. But anyway, let's actually get right to some of these questions. Brendan from Morris, New York, do you have advice for dinosaur fossil hunting in western United States or other countries? Well, Brendan, I haven't been outside of the United States in my entire life, so pretty much I can't give you advice on that. But even though with western United States, there are some places that you can look. But I would say actually try to do the Wyoming Dinosaur Center. They actually do dinosaur fossil hunting for the public, basically, and you could do that for a good period of time. Or otherwise, go to like a rock and like a fossil or gem shop and see if there's any trips where they actually do fossil hunting. But basically, the one thing I would actually suggest is basically look for public lands in western United States, but mainly try fossil hunting for the marine environments, basically the limestones and the shales, because that's where you actually find fossils that you can collect. You can collect invertebrates. There's very limited amount of vertebrates that you can take. You can take some parts of fish, basically. Like if it's a small fish, you can take, and also you can take fish scales as well. But the thing about dinosaur fossil hunting, basically for that kind of region, is basically prohibited, basically to the public, and the reasons why is because sometimes the public thinks, when they're very interested in paleontology, is pretty much is that what they do is actually they go to a certain type of land, and basically they think they can actually look for dinosaur fossils and basically take them. But the thing is that sometimes that land is owned by somebody else, and that is a big problem. And basically those people can be arrested for trespassing and also damaging of property. And also, you didn't ask for permission to go on this property. And also taking dinosaur fossils, basically vertebrate fossils, big vertebrates, but mostly almost all vertebrates, is basically not allowed. And the reasons why is because those are for scientific reasons only. And if you are actually working for a museum or otherwise a university, you can collect, but basically there's a limited amount that you can take, and that's really what actually goes on. And because I've done fossil hunting myself, but basically it's mostly in the marine environment types of rocks, basically limestones and shales, and that's pretty much what you can do is just look in the limestones and shales to actually look for invertebrate fossils. But if you want to look for vertebrate fossils, basically look at some fish. Basically, find some fish in the marine environments. Basically, the smaller fishes. But even though I would say that if you want to do big vertebrates, you can do paleontological experiences. Basically, like Geocorps, because they do paleontology. Trips, basically, and also, or otherwise, look for a museum that could actually have you do a fossil hunt, be like a kind of almost like an intern way, basically, like somebody that wants to do fossil hunting, basically for vertebrates, and kind of get that paleontological experience to actually have that. So I would say suggest to that, but I haven't been outside the United States, so pretty much that's I can't give you advice on that. So I don't know what the laws are for some of these other countries, so it's pretty much up in the air for me. I don't even know what those laws are. So, but my advice is basically look for invertebrate fossils, basically animals that just don't have backbones, basically no bones, basically. All right, Mike from Beaverton, Oregon. Who do you think would have been the top predator of the late Triassic, Saurosuchus or Herrerasaurus? Now these animals, they pretty much lived in the same time in the same place. Both fossils are found in Argentina, Valley of the Moon, and they're very different they're very different in terms of how they actually what they prey on, pretty much. By looking at the size, basically, Herrerasaurus is smaller than Saurosuchus. Now, Saurosuchus would actually probably have the power, basically. It would have the muscle mass and the power, basically, to actually take on larger prey, basically. Some of the larger reptiles that were around, some of the large mammal-like reptiles that were around at that time. Our Herrerasaurus would actually probably be preying on smaller prey, basically like small mammal-like reptiles, even small reptiles, even amphibians. I would say wouldn't actually go after large prey items unless if they were dead, basically, or otherwise they were really, really injured and they were pretty much on the verge of dying. I would say Saurosuchus and Herrerasaurus did come into contact with one another from time to time, but basically they would have just avoided each other, basically. It's because they would never actually fought for food or territory that much, but even though they would fight for territory if there was a limited amount of food or water, basically. But I would say Saurosuchus is probably the top predator. It's probably because it's a bit larger and also it actually takes on larger prey. Usually what it means to be the top predator is usually you're the largest predator and also you are capable of actually taking on larger prey. And like lions, they're considered the top predator in the Serengeti because they actually take on larger prey. It's because hyenas would never go after a juvenile elephant. Lions will, and so that kind of thing. And also, they would actually go after hippos. That's a pretty good fact to know that too. Hyenas would never do that. It's because hyenas would never take on a hippo. It's because they don't have that muscle mass to actually help them to take them down. And also, a hippo would kill them pretty quickly. And so I would say that Herrerasaurus would actually be eating smaller prey, and Saurosuchus would actually be eating larger prey. So my opinion is basically Saurosuchus is the top predator of the late Triassic. All right, Greg from Sherwood, Ohio. Thoughts on who would win in a fight between Saurosuchus versus Megalania? Also, who or what was the largest terrestrial mammalian carnivore? That's one I can never seem to find an agreement on. Well, let's start off with the first question. For those of you, basically, who would win in a fight type of battle between prehistoric animals, it's basically going to be my opinion. It would not be factual. Basically, there's sometimes certain animals lived in different time periods that some of you might have chosen, and basically they never met each other, or otherwise some of them actually lived in the same period, but actually lived in different places. But for this sake, Saurosuchus versus Megalania. Well, first of all, one actually lived in the Triassic period, and that'll be Saurosuchus, and Megalania living in the Pliocene and the Pleistocene in Australia. Saurosuchus is from South America, basically. Pretty much, and you actually look at the differences between these two animals. Is basically one is a monitor lizard, giant monitor lizard, that will be Megalania, and the other one is a archosaur, and Basilarchosaur. And I would say Megalania would actually win this one. It's because basically it lived further. It's actually the most recent animal that we can actually find, and also I would actually say it actually has a bit more power than Saurosuchus, more muscle mass. And also, Megalania can actually use its tail as a weapon. It's because monitor lizards do use their tails for defense mostly. They wouldn't actually use them for offense. And pretty much, I would think it would actually use that long tail to actually whip the Saurosuchus and keep it at bay. And pretty much, the Saurosuchus could be disoriented enough that Megalania would actually go in for the killing bite right at the neck. And Saurosuchus could actually give some blows, basically, but Megalania's got really tough hide, basically. It's got bone underneath the scales, like all monitor lizards and also crocodilians, basically. But Megalania is a giant monitor lizard. But also, Megalania has also got another advantage, and that's basically it's got a venom gland right in its lower jaw. And so it would actually be, once it gets a bite on Saurosuchus, that venom would be squeezed out from pressure from the bite, and pretty much the venom gets in the wound, and pretty much Saurosuchus would die of an infection within a few days, or otherwise within a couple hours. But even though it would actually be pretty easy for Megalania to actually win this fight. It's got the power, and also it's got the brain too. It's got the brain to actually beat Saurosuchus. Monitor lizards are very smart. They're very intelligent reptiles, basically. They're the smartest lizards on the planet. And so they're very intelligent in a way, but they're not really as smart, like say not really as smart as like say birds or some mammals. But even though it would actually win the fight, Megalania would actually be the winner in this one. And as for who is actually the largest mammalian carnivore, it is still a debate. Some say it is Herrerasaurus, but I highly doubt that, because you see, some of the size estimates of Herrerasaurus kind of seem to be in question, because there's not that many fossils have been found for Herrerasaurus. Because I believe a skull's been found, and I think some pieces of vertebrae and teeth. And so you don't really have that much to go on for size, unless if you actually give an estimate, basically. So I would say Herrerasaurus is up in the air for that moment. But I would say it'd be cave bear. A cave bear, basically. I can't remember which one it is, but one is actually probably like 6 inches or a foot taller on 4 legs than Arctodosimus, or the short-faced bear. And also it would actually stand taller on 2 feet, basically, than the short-faced bear. The short-faced bear would actually be pretty good. It's a pretty good size, but it's usually going to be a cave bear. And I think this cave bear actually was found in Siberia and also in Europe. So I would actually look up which cave bear was actually the largest. Which prehistoric bear was the largest, and then you can actually find out which it is, and that would be pretty much the largest mammalian carnivore that has ever lived. Alright, John from South Sioux City, Nebraska. Studying the anatomy of birds and crocodilians is our best bet at speculating dinosaur anatomy. It's been reputed that alligators have so much plasma in their bloodstream that they are practically impervious to disease. The observation of Sioux having bones that healed from wounds that would have killed a mammal of similar size leads to this connection. Could this be so in all dinosaurs? Could they have had plenty of infection-resistant plasma in their blood? That is a very good question. If anybody has actually seen National Geographic's Dinosaur CSI, Dr. Phil Manning, there was this, I believe it was the 3rd episode of the show, where basically he's basically talking about dinosaurs' ways of healing and how they fight infections, basically. But they were looking at mostly theropods, basically tyrannosaurs mostly. What the bone healing power kind of actually comes into play here is that it uses what modern birds actually do is actually they heal very fast with their broken bones. It's because they use body heat to actually help actually heal their bones pretty quickly. But you see, they actually look for food right away. When they look for food, like right away, when they got injured. It's because they need a good amount of food in their system to actually help heal their bones properly. And so Sue's injuries, basically all the broken bones that Sue has, actually comes from what modern birds actually have. Is basically they use heat to heal their bones. But as for fighting infection, yeah, they probably did actually have that plasma that kind of plasma in their blood to actually fight off infections that way. That's why crocodilians actually have those infection fighters, just because they live in a very infectious environment, basically the swampy types of environments, because those places actually have a lot of bacteria and viruses. And so with dinosaurs, basically, I would say they probably have that. I think they would probably mostly have that. The theropods pretty much did. I think they did. Herbivores, I'm not totally sure, but I think they probably did as well. For pretty much what all dinosaurs actually are basically. That's why you actually hear a lot of times that dinosaurs were kind of almost invincible, basically, in terms of like how they healed and all that kind of stuff. They actually healed pretty rapidly and all that, but there probably are viruses that probably they couldn't actually heal from. Like there's some viruses that like birds actually have that they can't actually cure themselves, and that's why they need modern day medicine for that. And basically dinosaurs never had that, so pretty much they would have actually died of natural causes, basically, pretty much mostly, and also they would probably have died of old age a lot more, and so that's why they actually probably survived for a good period of time. But also the young dinosaurs were probably very vulnerable to disease, just because their immune systems are not actually fully charged totally yet as what they would be like as a teenager or otherwise an adult. So that kind of comes into play as well. And also pretty much like any injury towards like the neck area would actually, or otherwise loss of blood, would actually be a really good way of actually killing an animal pretty quickly. And so that's why some tyrannosaurs died very young, and also a lot of theropods died very young. It's just because they actually hunt a lot, and then and also they probably did fight each other for territory and food and mates. And that's pretty much what kind of happens, basically. I would say yeah. Some of them actually did have that plasma in their blood. I'm not totally sure how much amount. That would actually be that's still up for debate. But also it's still up for debate whether or not dinosaurs still have this. But I would say that yeah, they probably did have it. But even though I would say dinosaurs are more warm-blooded than cold-blooded, so that's why I think they actually still have this. But even though it could actually have its limitations, so I would actually say that's maybe this is just a guess of mine. It's my opinion, but even though it's a guess, I would say that that dinosaurs probably had between 70 to 80% of plasma in their blood to fight off infection, and that's pretty much mostly white blood cells. But even though that actually does help, and crocodilians have between 80 to 90% plasma in their blood. So dinosaurs actually have that common ancestor with crocodilians. So pretty much they actually probably did have this. So I would say, yeah, they probably did have this. But very good question, though, John. All right, that's it for now. Next week would actually be a special episode. So tell me which kind of dinosaur or any other prehistoric animal that you want me to talk about. Feel free to let me know by emailing me at dinocris71@gmail.com, or otherwise go on the Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts of Dino Chris. You can actually tell me what kind of dinosaurs or any other prehistoric animals you want me to talk about, but mainly vertebrates. I only specifically want vertebrates. And also, you could still send me questions about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric life by emailing me at dinocris71@gmail.com, or otherwise go on the Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts of Dino Chris. like the page, you can actually post your questions in the comment section on any Facebook post. But remember, keep your questions short and to the point. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at CSGRALL. That's my Twitter page, and I post pretty cool stuff on there. And also, take care of the people around you. And also, for you younger people out there, make sure to listen to your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. Those are the best motivation you can have for a good education. It's very important to have a good education. With a good education, you get a good job in the future. All right, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next week.